Welcome to Science Store online classes.
Don't forget to like our video and subscribe our YouTube channel for all the updates.
Good morning students, welcome to physics online classes. So we have been discussing about laws of motion. In today's class we will discuss about the apparent weight of object in a lift. So imagine there is a person who is moving inside the lift, right? There is a person who is inside the lift. So when the lift is at rest, lift is not moving, whether it is in a first floor, second, third or the last floor, the weight of the person will be equal to the apparent weight. Apparent weight means the weight felt by the person. Weight of the person will be equal to the apparent weight of the person. So we should imagine a lift. We'll imagine a lift, okay, and there is a person inside the lift. Let's say weight of this person is equal to W. W is the weight of the person. So when the lift is at rest, okay, lift is at rest. So when the lift is rest, what is the weight of the object or weight of the person? The apparent weight of the person is equal to his actual weight. Actual weight of this person again weight is a relative quantity, we all know that. So for example, weight of this scale is what the weight of the scale here on the surface of the earth will be different when I carry it to the moon. This will weigh different. We know that weight is relative. Weight is nothing but gravitational force experienced by any object, mass times of acceleration due to gravity. Now as we are on the earth, so we will consider weight of this person is W. That is the actual weight of this person. Now he is inside the lift and lift is at rest. Let's say lift is in the second floor. What is the apparent weight of that person now? So when the lift is at rest, apparent weight is equal to actual weight. Apparent weight is equal to actual weights. What is that? M into G. If M is the mass of this person, then M into G is the apparent weight of the person when the lift is at rest. Now the lift is moving upward. So lift is moving upward. When it is moving, it is accelerating. So you can say that lift is accelerating with A, okay? A is the acceleration of the lift upward. Lift is accelerating upward. Then what is his apparent weight? His apparent weight will be M into G plus A. So his actual weight is W. So his apparent weight will be is equal to M into G plus A. That is the apparent weight of the person. So yeah, apparent weight. So can I write this as mg 1 plus A by G. What is mg? Mg is the actual weight. So actual weight times 1 by A by G. So you can say that there is a slight increase in the apparent weight. So when you are in the lift and when the lift is moving upward, right, you will feel heavy. You might have observed this. The lift should go upward with acceleration, then you will feel heavy. You are sitting on a giant wheel, right? So when the wheel goes up, when your seat goes up, you will feel heavier than what you are. So that is the apparent weight of you when the acceleration of the lift is upward or acceleration of your giant wheel is upward. Why? Because mathematically also it is true, because your weight, the weight felt by you will be is equal to the actual weight times of 1 plus A by G. There will be fractional increase in the weight of you when you go or when your lift accelerates upward. Do you agree with that? So now your lift is accelerating downward. Lift is accelerating. Acceleration of the lift is A now, downward. Downward. Your lift is accelerating downward. So when you are accelerating downward, right, what happens? So let's say your lift is, you are inside the lift and lift is coming down. So your apparent weight will be is equal to, apparent weight will be is equal to m into g minus a. M into g minus a. So can I write this as mg 1 minus a by g. So apparent weight is nothing but your actual weight times of 1 minus a by g. Anything, 1 minus anything will reduce the value. Here 1 plus anything will increase the value, correct? 1 plus something, plus always increases. Here value is reduced. So you will feel weightlessness when you come downward. You observe that, you feel that every time when you move in a lift. When a lift is coming down, you will feel weightlessness. Especially you observe that in a giant wheel. Why you will feel that is not your actual weight, that is your apparent weight. That is because your weight will be absorbed less by little fraction or fractional slightly decrease in the weight. So apparent weight will be slightly decrease in the actual weight of the object when the lift is coming downward with the acceleration A. Now lift is moving upward or downward, but its acceleration is 0. So acceleration of is 0 for lift, whether it is moving upward or downward, then apparent weight will be equal to, apparent weight will be is equal to actual weight, which is nothing but m into g. If your lift is moving with uniform velocity upward, or if your lift is coming down with uniform velocity, then you won't feel any weight increase in the weight when moving upward or decrease in the weight when moving downward. So in both the cases you will feel the same weight. So that's because apparent weight is equal to the actual weight of the person. You are inside the satellite, artificial satellite, or you are at the center of the earth inside the lift, and lift is accelerating. Then what is your weight? So if you are at the satellite, artificial satellites, or at the center of the center of earth, your apparent weight will be 0. You will feel weightlessness. You might have seen the videos of Kalpana Chawla, Sunita Williams inside the artificial satellites or inside the spaceship. So they will feel weightlessness. They are floating. They will be floating. So if you go inside any artificial satellite, right, you will feel the same. You will start floating. Why would you do that? Why would it become? Because the satellites will be orbiting around the earth. So when any object that is in a circular path, our earth is not moving in a circular path around sun. You know that it is elliptical path, but your satellite, right, the artificial satellites, they are revolving or orbiting around the earth in a circular path. Alright, so they will have centripetal acceleration. Any object which is under uniform circular motion will have a centripetal acceleration. We have learned that. in a motion in a plane chapter. So that centripetal acceleration of that artificial satellites revolving around the earth will be equal to, or it will be equal to acceleration due to gravity. See, here is your earth and here is your satellite. Here is your satellite. Yeah, these satellites will revolve around the earth, orbit around the earth in a circular path. So they will have a centripetal acceleration, it will be always acted towards the center. That will be always equal to g. Centripetal acceleration AC of the artificial satellite will be equal to g. So that's the reason here the apparent weight of the object inside the satellite will be always 0. Apparent weight will be always 0. So this is about apparent weight of the object inside the lift. So you can set a room having 0 gravity. So if you go through the internet, you will find so many such demonstrations. Or you can, inside the plane, you can set 0 gravity and experience the 0 gravity. So 0 gravity means what? This weightlessness. This is called weightlessness. Apparent weight is becoming 0. Why it will become 0? Because your acceleration due to gravity will be equal to your centripetal acceleration. So you will feel weightlessness. But you are inside the lift. So there are two cases. Your apparent weight and real weight would be same. One is your lift should be at rest. Lift should not be moving. Or else your lift should be moving with uniform velocity, means constant velocity. Either upward or downward, it should move with a constant velocity. Then your apparent weight will be equal to real weight. Real weight means your actual weight on Earth's surface. And apparent weight means the weight felt by you. Understood? So they will be same. When you are standing on the lift and lift is not moving, you will feel your own weight. If you are 30 kg, you will feel 30 kg only. But your lift is accelerating upward. It's not moving with uniform velocity but accelerating upward. You will feel little increase in the weight, 30 point some gram, 31 gram. So some fractional increase in the weight you will feel. So that is difficult to observe in normal cases, but you will feel that. But when you come down, you might have observed it in your day-to-day life, you will feel weightlessness. Correct? When the lift is accelerating downward, you will feel weightlessness. So this is about apparent weight. So the next concept is impulse. We know what is impulse, correct? Impulse means, impulse is denoted by I. This is nothing but change in the momentum. Change in the linear momentum of the object, change in the momentum. So this can also be written as force times of time interval. So impulse is change in the momentum, which is nothing but force times of time interval. So now, what is impulsive force? Impulsive force. See, impulsive force means, I have mentioned in a board class, it is a large force acting for a short period of time. You are hitting the ball with the bat. So bat applies some force on the ball, right? So that is large amount of force and it acts for a very short period. You can't make out when the ball hits and when the bat hits the ball and ball rebounds back. You can't make out that duration, right? So that's impulsive force. So there are applications or illustration part of an impulsive force. One is to avoid the impulse. The cricketer drags the ball while catching it. He don't catch it this way because there is a chances of it is dropping down, because to catch the ball directly with a short period of time he need to apply more amount of force. So to avoid that he catches it by dragging it. So these are some illustrations or impulsive applications of impulse. So you have a variable force. Let's say variable force is acting on any object, that is also very large force. So then impulse for variable force will be is equal to integration of that variable force times of time interval from t1 to t2. From how long? So when the cricketer hits the ball, so he will start, he will pull it back and then hit, correct? So if you include all that force, then he starts from some time and he ends hitting the ball at some time. Let's say he started at 9 o'clock and he ends it at 9 o'clock and 5 seconds. So T1 will be 9 o'clock, T2 will be 9 o'clock and 5 seconds. What is the duration? 5 seconds. So that's the concept here. So when the force is variable force is a variable force, impulse can be measured as integration of force from force into time interval from T1 to T2. Yeah, for one dimensional motion, area of force into time graph with the time axis is impulse or change in a momentum. So if you plot a graph where you take time along x axis and force along y axis, right? So the impulse or change in the momentum will be the area of this graph. So you will get some graph. So area under this graph will be equal to impulse. Remember this. What is the area under velocity time graph? Velocity versus time graph. Area under velocity versus time graph is displacement. Slope of Vt graph is acceleration. So similarly, area under force time graph, Ft graph is nothing but impulse. Alright. So this is about apparent lift and impulse. Yes, students, let's move to the next concept, conservation of linear momentum. So conservation of linear momentum, this concept led through the third law of or Newton's third law of motion. What Newton's third law of motion says? For every action there will be equal and opposite reaction, correct? So if a ball is thrown on the ball applies a force F and wall applies a force F dash on ball, then they are equal but opposite in action, opposite in the direction. So what conservation of momentum, linear momentum says is, in the absence of external force, when the net force is equal to 0, the momentum is conserved. Means in an isolated system, the total momentum of the interacting particle will be 0 when the net force is 0. Why? Because if there are two balls, okay, they collide. When they collide each other, the ball A will apply force on ball B. Ball B will apply force on ball A. So the force applied by ball A, force applied by ball B, both are equal and they are opposite. So they will get cancelled each other. The net force of both the balls, the whole system means both the balls will be 0. There is no external force. In that case, momentum of those two balls together or before collision will be equal to momentum of those two balls after the collision. So that's a full derivation part. We have done that derivation and we came across this expression. If there are two balls of mass m1 and m2 having velocity u1 and u2, after collision its velocity changes to v1 and v2, then m1 u1 plus m2 u2. Okay, u1 is the initial velocity of m1, u2, okay, let me consider two balls, mass m1, mass m2, initial velocity u1, initial velocity u2. So this is the initial momentum of this ball, this is the initial momentum of second ball, will be equal to, after collision, let's say they will have the velocity, this will have v1 velocity, this will have v2 velocity, then m1 v1 plus m2 v2. So this is the final momentum of this ball, this is the final momentum of the other ball. So totally you can say momentum before the collision is equal to momentum after the collision. There is no change in the momentum. Two balls, they had some velocity, they collide. After that they will have different velocity, still momentum of the whole system will be conserved. In an isolated system, why isolated system? There shouldn't be any external force. The net force of the system should be 0. Remember, if net force is 0, if net force of the system is 0, then momentum is conserved. Momentum, linear momentum is conserved. Okay? If the net force is equal to 0, then linear momentum is conserved. Okay? If net force of the system is equal to 0, then linear momentum of the system is conserved. Right? Okay. So now let me take different scenarios. We have discussed about lot of application part or lot of example for this conservation of linear momentum. So one very familiar or popular example for conservation of linear momentum is when you fire a bullet from a gun recoils back. Am I right? Gun will recoil back. Let's say a bullet of mass, M is fired by a gun of mass capital M. Okay, capital M is the mass of the gun, and small m is the mass of a bullet, and this bullet is moving with the velocity v, bullet velocity of bullet. Okay, so gun fires the bullet will go out of the gun with the velocity v. So gun will recoil back, right? What is that speed of recoiling? So speed of recoiling of gun, so speed of recoil of gun in this case, okay, in this particular case, if I take it as capital B is equal to m into v. This is momentum of bullet. Mass m is the mass of bullet, v is the momentum of bullet divided by mass of gun. M into v divided by mass of gun. Why? Because momentum of gun should be is equal to momentum of bullet after the fire. Momentum of gun, capital M, or let me take it as m dash v dash. This is mv. mv is momentum of bullet, m dash v dash is momentum of gun. Do you get it? Gun fires the bullet, so then the recoil speed of gun will be momentum of bullet by mass of gun, because momentum of gun is equal to momentum of bullet after the fire. Now, what is their ratio of mass? So ratio of mass of gun and bullet. So mass of gun m dash and mass of bullet m. M dash is mass of gun, m is the mass of bullet, will be is equal to kinetic energy of bullet and kinetic divided by kinetic energy of gun. So you can say that this relation you can remember. So ratio of mass of gun and bullet will be is equal to ratio of kinetic energy of bullet and gun, or you can say that ratio of masses of gun and bullet will be inversely proportional to the kinetic energy of them. Correct? Ratio of kinetic energy of bullet and gun will be inversely proportional to their mass. Mass of gun, kinetic energy of bullet. Mass of bullet, kinetic energy of gun. Alright. Now, there is one metal block here. The mass of this metal block is m. One bullet of mass, this is m dash, okay. Mass of metal block is m dash. A bullet of mass m is moving with the velocity v, moving with certain velocity, the bullet is shot on the metal block. It will enter the distance x. It will enter the distance. So not this case, we'll take one more. Yes, alright. Consider a metal block of mass m dash and bullet m. The bullet is moving with the velocity v. It will enter this metal block. After entering, the bullet will carry the metal block also. You imagine, there is one block and bullet enters that block. Along with the bullet, then that block will also start to move. So, but speed will reduce. Yes or no? Speed will reduce. So, what is the common speed? After that, both are moving together. Imagine this is the metal block and this is the bullet. So, metal block is at rest. M dash is the mass of the metal block. This is coming with the velocity v. This will enter this metal block. After entering, both will move together. So before entering it, this will have greater speed, that is v. After entering, they will have a common speed, it will reduce. So what is that common speed after entering into the metal block? So let me call it as v dash, common speed. That is equal to momentum of bullet before bombarding divided by total mass. Momentum of the bullet divided by total mass. Remember the scenario, students. Bullet is hitting the metal block and then both are moving together by sharing a common speed. That common speed is equal to momentum of bullet by total mass. Now, you are having a mass m. Your mass is m. Mass of a boy or a girl. Okay? Mass of a boy is m. There is one boat. Fine. There is one boat. You walk on the boat. Boat is on water. You walk on the boat. What happens? Boat slips back. Correct? Yes or no? Boat is at rest. You will get into the boat and you will walk on it. It will slip back. Boat will go back. Correct? Let's say inside the boat you will go around x distance. Boy of mass m will walk x distance on the boat. So that time boat will slip back. What is the speed with which boat will slip back? That is nothing but recoiling of a boat. You can call it as recoiling of a boat. So what is that? We don't want speed. What is the distance that boat goes back? So when you walk like this is the boy walking towards this direction. When you walk towards this direction on the boat, this is on water, so boat will go this direction. Boat will go this direction. So what is that direction? Let me call it as x dash. The distance the boat moves in opposite direction, or it is opposite to your distance, right, is equal to m into x divided by m dash, if m dash is the mass of boat, minus m, where m is the mass of the boy. A boy of mass m, he is walking on the boat of mass m dash. He covers x distance. So when he walks on the boat will also go back on the water because of third law of motion or conservation of momentum, anything you can consider. Boat will go back. What is the distance moved by the boat? You are moving on the boat, but boat is moving behind on the water. That distance is nothing but m into x, mass of boy and the distance covered by boy, divided by change in the mass of a boat minus mass of a boy. X dash is the distance covered by the boat. So next is, this should be plus not minus, total mass not minus, plus, make that correction. This should be plus mx divided by m dash plus m. Next, a bullet of mass m is exploded into two parts. Okay, so imagine this is a bullet. It is fired from the gun. So then it will break into or explode into two parts. Okay, there is one huge bullet. What is the mass of this bullet or shell? Imagine shell M. So now it will explode into two parts. The part of this has a mass M. What will be the mass of this? M minus M. Do you agree with that? So let me call it as M dash, then M dash minus M. This huge shell has the mass M dash. After firing, it will explode into two parts, whereas small part has the mass M and bigger part has the mass M dash into M. Now, M will have the speed V. This particular mass is moving with this is moving towards this direction with the speed V. Whereas this will move towards this direction with what speed? V dash. I want to know what is V dash. So V dash is equal to M into V divided by M dash minus M. V dash is equal to M into V divided by M dash minus M, because after collision they become a two part. So after explosion the shell becomes two parts. Momentum of this should be equal to momentum of this. What is the momentum of this? M into V. What is the momentum of this? M dash minus M into V dash. So V dash is equal to mv divided by M dash minus V dash. A shell exploding into two parts where one part has the velocity v, what is the speed of other part? That is equal to momentum of this divided by mass of this. Another thing, when a machine gun fires n bullets, a gun fires n number of bullets, each of mass m and speed v or velocity v in a time interval t, then the force needed to hold the gun steady. You need to hold the gun, right? To fire n number of bullets with the speed v for t interval of a time having mass m, what is the force? So the force needed to fire a bullets from a gun, the n number of bullets of mass and velocity v. So m into v is momentum of one bullet. There are n number of bullets. So n m v is the momentum of all the bullets fired. So how long? For t interval of a time. So force is equal to n m v by t. What is f v? F into t is equal to impulse. Impulse means change in the momentum. So f into t is equal to mv. mv is the momentum. N into m into v is nothing but total momentum. So you will get change in the momentum. So this is the amount of force required to hold the gun so that you can fire the n number of bullet for t interval of time.
Don't forget to like our video and subscribe our YouTube channel for all the updates.